This is Michael.
This is Pablo.
It's eTrend, giving our take on e-commerce and digital marketing insights, news, and updates for what's actually working in today's landscape. Today, we're going to talk about e-commerce and COVID-19. What's going on, Pablo?
Not much. What we're actually going to talk about is the customer experience in e-commerce during the COVID-19 era, I guess you could call it.
Challenging times for sure for a lot of businesses.
Very challenging. So I'll start off with saying that, the customer experience is something you would hear maybe as a buzzword, but it truly does set apart certain businesses. Obviously, the one we can think of the most is Amazon, but then you have companies like Chewy, which have made their name on the customer experience journey. Now, what's been really challenging during this time, at least in my current experience, is how to best service clients during an environment that is, for obvious reasons, extremely challenging when it comes to supply chain and customer service. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that obviously Amazon is the behemoth, elephant. I don't think it's fair or I don't want to say right. I don't think it's fair to compare any business to Amazon for a couple reasons. Amazon has a completely different infrastructure. You look back 10 years ago, people were buying from Amazon because of price. Now they're definitely not the cheapest all the way across the board, and it's more on the convenience factor. So they've been good to sort of set the customer expectations for what a good customer experience is with Amazon. For many years, it was price, always the cheapest. Then they've transitioned people into convenience, 2-day shipping, returns, no issues, the ratings and the algorithm to make sure that they're showing the best products and wiping out the counterfeits. Amazon's done very well with that. And I think for most small businesses, whether they're selling on Amazon or they're trying to prevent Amazon from taking in their lunch, I think it's very difficult to be able to compare your business to Amazon. Now, with that
Okay,
being,
so let me stop you there. Here's the deal, though. What's interesting about COVID is I think you could say around March or April, even Amazon started facing big challenges. I mean, as a consumer myself, I can tell you there were things that I would buy and then I would get an email saying I wouldn't get it for another month or so.
I
So
agree.
I think this issue has even impacted Amazon. Now, granted, we're in July, things have gone way better since the beginning, but even they had their challenges. So even if Amazon had challenges, what I'm talking about is, what about small businesses?
Sure.
Imagine those challenges. And that's
So,
something that I have a, a specific example that I want to get into, but I'll let you finish your thought, and then let's get into maybe something that you yourself have seen from the
sure.
customer experience side of things.
So I think Amazon, I mean, they certainly took a social standpoint to stop taking in non-essential items so all of their resources could be used to ship out as many essential items to customers without leaving their house. Obviously, it's a business decision, but they could have continued to take it in, but they didn't have the resources compared to the amount of orders that went up. Obviously, as people are, not going to stores and had limited access and restaurants were closing and everything else, it was much more difficult to get supplies. So they certainly prioritize their warehouses, where if you're selling computer chairs or other items like that, fine, there could be a little wait because there wasn't a necessity for that. However, when you start looping it back into customer experience, the same way that they've trained people to expect the 2-day shipping, they took a very proactive, responsive course of action quickly to communicate via email. I know I got several updates on my app from Amazon about, shipping delays and everything else. And I think that sort of set the expectation. I think for a lot of people it's like, a little bit of a reality check, just to, oh, yeah, your 2-day shipping isn't coming, and you're so accustomed to it, you know?
I agree. So because the person that's running an e-commerce store says, well, I'm not Amazon. So let's get into some of the things that you've seen or I've seen. And I can tell you that the biggest one by far, still till today, has been shipping. right? So I've talked to representatives from both UPS and USPS. For whatever reason, I just don't really use FedEx. Um, and they've told me that the mail system is so bogged down that all networks are experiencing delays. Now, when you talk to customers and you explain that to them, it's very tough. Why? Because look, I'm not in logistics. So some customers will say, well, I got the package from so and so, but I'm not getting it from you. Then we have to talk to the carrier and they're saying, yes, the package is delayed. And you
Right.
have to convey that message to the customer. Now, when a customer buys from a business that it may be their first time buying, they're not so, they don't know the brand yet. It's challenging for them to have that trust, right? Is this company really telling me the truth, or is the package really delayed?
Right. So I don't think customers care for the most part about the reasoning why. I mean, they decided to make the purchase, they handed over their money, the money went out of their account. Now they're waiting for their product.
I
So they
agree.
don't really care. And I think certainly from experience, I think probably better than anyone that this COVID, shipping delay, sure, it lasted much longer, but it's very similar to what goes through every Black Friday. I mean, very similar in the same capacity, a couple weeks before, a couple weeks after, major shipping delays, tracking numbers aren't getting updated. Now it just went on to a whole lot longer span. And even for small businesses who haven't been able to get that Black Friday madness, or, fine, they get a little spike in sales. But, for someone who doesn't see a warehouse, get depleted, I think this is the first time that they were really able to sort of see that. Now, the postal system has their own issues with tracking numbers and getting them updated, and everything else. I think sure there are delays. I personally have a lot of faith in the postal system. I don't think that they actually lose very many packages. I think that there's tracking issues, as far as them getting updated or scanned in, or, them not scanning in, which I think could present several other issues to small businesses if you're selling on eBay or Amazon and your tracking numbers aren't registered. But I think the biggest issue is with communication to the customers.
Well, I think that's the only real solution, right? So you shipped it as a company, the customer's saying, hey, where's my package? I guess it's really up to having the best protocols and customer service to, give an answer that satisfies the customer,
I get
whatever
it.
that may be, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of companies, whether it's financial reasons that they aren't able to bring on the resources, or they don't currently have the resources. Obviously, with COVID, with a lot of the uh, lower paying jobs, it's much more difficult to fill with the between unemployment and stimulus checks and everything of that nature. Just being able to get the help to service the customers while still trying to maintain your marketing and continue to push forward and to run a business, it can certainly be a very huge undertaking. Now, there's some systems that are very easy to put in place, like, I mean, I guess at this point it doesn't really matter, but SMS notifications for updates, super easy, very inexpensive. Email marketing, super easy, relatively inexpensive. Even just like a notification on the website before someone purchases to let them know that everyone at this point knows that, you could have shipping delays, but for people who are not very proactive, I was looking forward towards the future in the event something like this happens again, or even to take these lessons until, to be able to apply it for holiday season, which is, just around the corner.
Yep. So let me give two real life examples here. Maybe someone listening or watching has gone through them, and hopefully, whether they're maybe they watch this on YouTube, I would love for them to comment and give their examples. But two things happened during COVID. One, uh, you know, through this, naturally, our e-commerce. Well, I don't know if naturally or not, but we really, really took. We just went into hyper growth almost, right? We made some moves that really, really scaled our business, and this really accelerated. So we had two problems here. One was the amount of orders that we were and still are getting in and fulfilling changed overnight. So that changed our business. And the second one was the customer service that went along with it, right? More orders, more customers, more service and support is needed. So one of the steps that I took, and I think it helped a lot because I see the open rate, was set up a flow. We use Klaviyo, that as soon as the customer placed an order, they get probably an email within a minute telling them the challenges that we're going through as a business and to just be patient and that we're going to get to everyone. So it states the fact that, we have so many emails and we weren't ready for that support that we asked them, that everyone's email will get answered just to give us a little bit more time as we get through this. And the second one was letting them know about the delays in mail as well. So it's more about just, when I think about the customer experience, while we're not going to be the perfect company and solve all the problems overnight because things happen quickly, I think you just take a proactive approach, right? Like, what can I do to at least be proactive with the customer in an honest way and tell them what's going on? And hopefully they'll understand and have some patience while we as a company get better with our process as we grow.
Right. It's certainly challenging, especially for first-time purchasers where this is their first experience with the company. You really have the opportunity to either, I don't want to say make it or break it, but to be able to set the tone of how you handle challenges, which I think can also say a lot about a business when a customer has a problem. Now, you and I have spoken about how your business is taken off with this whole, COVID. You guys did something very interesting where you were able to add on a product that instantly took off, which is completely separate from the normal catalog. And I guess I think obviously you need time, whether it's, quarters, 1 or 2 quarters to see how retention of customers and lifetime value plays out. But I think the biggest thing to be able to take away from this time that you've been scaling is to be able to actually see these customers that cause this influx. Sure, the business would have probably had would have seen growth like most other e-commerce businesses, but seeing how you almost used a product to get people into your funnels to see how many of these people come back and buy something that is sort of like within your core of your product stream. And I think you look back in 6 months, I think that'll be a really good determination to figure out, if that was the right move for the business in the long run. And I think a lot of other businesses that sort of took that same approach, I think it's going to certainly be challenging. But, if you get down into the numbers and you start seeing how many people, continue to buy through it, I think that'll really sort of dictate how big of an impact the long shipping times actually had. And same for the customer service issues.
Yeah.
For
sure. In a sense, this also gets us ready for, again, I think more so than what we did during the time of adding a product that really did scale sales, that product today just we're back at our normal levels of what sells, like through our best sellers and whatnot. But it's just, we're pouring so much more money into marketing. There's just so much more opportunity as, e-commerce is the focus for the consumer.
Sure. So
I'm actually curious to know what e-commerce businesses are out there that have a real presence and haven't seen growth through this, right, to be honest. Do you think there's anyone that hasn't seen growth that actually runs an e-commerce business with a real presence?
So I'm going to take it one step further and break it down. I would assume most actual businesses, if you're, actual e-commerce businesses, have seen growth. I think the question is about profitability. And I think that's
a whole nother, now we're getting into something way different. That should be another show.
100%. But just, for many businesses, if you needed the cash or you're cash strapped, it's a very difficult decision to say, okay, no, I'm going to pass on this, looking for the long run, especially in March and April when it was so uncertain what was going to come. But, taking on that growth for a lot of businesses is probably going to have, I think we'll see come holiday season and, January, February, I think it's probably going to end up crushing a lot of them.
Well,
You know,
I think what you're talking about is actually super interesting and really ties back to the customer experience discussion.
right.
That you're saying that a company can invest in growth while disregarding actually with its core business the customer experience that actually leads to, some may say, more growth or better growth. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Kind of. I think the younger brands and people that are bootstrapped or, in startup mode, I think a lot of them will have seen significant, they probably would have seen significant growth, but not being prepared or not having sort of gone down growth spurts in the past. I think cost of customer acquisition could have gone through the roof for some of these businesses, making it not profitable. I think they might not have had the infrastructure to handle, whether it's the customer service or the shipping or, just the business operations. And I think it could end up costing them more in the customers and the brand itself than whatever influx of revenue that they, were able to generate.
I agree.
You
Well, I
know,
think, again, to tie it all back to the customer experience, I think, needless to say, it's while there's a lot of growth in this industry as a whole, right, in e-commerce, that comes at a cost. And that cost is through the customer experience, because to give real good customer experience is probably one of the hardest things a business could do, even though it actually might sound one of the easiest things to do, right? When you hear, oh, this company gives amazing customer experience. They reply to all emails quick. Cool. Let's hire more people. We can do that. They ship fast. Cool. Let's have inventory in stock. We could do that. It's actually really, really challenging. There's a lot that goes into providing great customer experience. And that's why most businesses honestly that's not what they're known for, because it's very, very challenging. And as we wrap this up, I think that's one of the things that I've seen through this process. It's wow, like you can really grow, but that part, you better not drop the ball on the experience side of it. That's just as important as anything else.
right. Well, look, you scaled your content. And I think even while people are waiting for their shipments or whatever, being proactive with content, I mean, there's other ways to make up for not being able to deliver the product as quick as it could have been.
Oh,
Um,
100%. I think if there's one message I could give or piece of advice is that you might not be able to provide the best customer service, the best experience for the consumer, but if you are proactive, that will go a long way with the customer. Don't wait for something to happen or for them to complain to be like, oh yeah, let's do this then. No, try to like foresee those things. You can already always see the problems that start to arise. So attack them as fast as you can.
right. I mean, if you think about it, it's in many ways what's happened. It's very similar to anyone who's ever been, for anyone who's ever worked inside of a restaurant or any hospitality job. Just because you have a nice site or a good product, at the end of the day, it's the customer that's going to decide what that experience is like. I mean, how many times have you heard about people, great restaurants, good vibe, good food, but then they don't like it? Sometimes you just can't make everyone happy. And I think businesses need to understand that you're not going to make everyone happy, and investing
That's a
so
good
much
point.
time the customer's always right until they're wrong. It's a very tricky balance to sort of be able to balance the time. Obviously no one wants the negative reviews, but
Who invented the customer is always right?
probably the customer. I mean,
That's funny, because I was thinking about that the other day. Whoever invented that, and that was probably one of the viral word of mouth things that have ever happened to consumerism, has really put a big challenge on businesses and what customer service looks like today.
I agree. I think
Because what
brands,
you said is right. That's part of the challenge of the customer experience. Customers are not always right. So it's like,
no,
wow, that's tough too. And that happens often.
but
That happens often.
it is the brand's responsibility and the company's responsibility to sort of set the right expectations. Now, if you're a manufacturer, it's a lot easier for you to set the right tone and the right expectations. If you're a third-party retailer, it makes it much more difficult because you're reliant on shipping partners, you're relying on the manufacturer to produce the goods if it's, some sort of drop ship business or something of the sort. But certainly the customer experience, I think, just keeping people up to date. If someone has to reach out to find out where their package is, I think, it's going to be very challenging to turn that into a positive experience. Someone wants to know where's
So
my
I think,
stuff.
again, let's say, that happens a lot now. Where's my package? If you're shipping thousands of packages a week, you are going to get people naturally that say, where's my package? So what do you think is the best way to tackle that proactively?
I would do a combination of email and text messaging. I mean, just proactive alerts. You can set it up on a automated schedule campaign.
Any platforms you would recommend for people?
I mean, Twilio is probably the best out there. It does take a little bit of development work. You can probably get someone on Upwork to program it out for you. If you don't already have an in-house developer, but at least you can say, okay, until the thing's marked shipped, or you can integrate it into UPS or USPS or FedEx. And once something gets marked delivered, you can stop sending them the updates. Or, I mean, you can just send anyone who made if you know that it's taking about 14 days, you can just send out a generic message to people saying, we know shipping's taking a little longer. If it's been more than 14 days, please give us a call. That way they can respond. They don't have to respond, but at least it's something.
I like the 14-day rule.
Yeah. I mean, typically I think that's what most people are saying.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Mike, good
All
stuff.
right.
Good discussion. I know this is an ongoing discussion as we, lots of businesses are still going through challenging times. This is far from over. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's over soon. But
Right.
I think consumer behavior and business behavior probably changed. At least some of it is here to stay, right? So companies constantly, as all of us have been in the industry for years, know this is ever changing all the time, right? So this is just another part of that continuous change.
Yeah. We'll certainly, maybe we'll definitely do an episode in a few months, and I'd love to take a deep dive into analytics and actually see how customer behavior came out of COVID-19. See
Cool.
if these repeat purchasers changed, if average order value changed. I think those are the metrics that people really need to be looking at to see, to take actually meaningful lessons. Was this a good decision or was it not? But either way, you take some learning out of it, and at least you know what to do or what not to do next time.
All right, Mike.
All right, Pablo. Till next time.